Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. So this video is going to take you through my more full coverage foundation routine. So I go through, now remember I have oily skin and I'm prone to a bit of dehydration, hence the lines on my forehead. So I go through the primers I use. Yes, I use 2 primers, but there's a reason for it. Foundation, concealer, and then powder as well, and then finishing spray. I go through what I use and why I use them. This works for me personally, and it kind of gives me full coverage but not cakey looking skin. So if you want to see how I created, well, I suppose I created this look, I just didn't do all the bells and whistles in the video, and just keep watching. So I'm starting out with a clean moisturised face, and main component of any coverage of foundation for me is primer. Without primer, it just doesn't work on my skin. I have oily skin, but obviously I'm a little bit older now, so it's getting kind of dehydrated, especially on my forehead. I have them lovely lines, so I feel that primer just helps. So because I'm kind of oily and dehydrated, I tend to use 2 primers because I'm a bit extra. It's completely unnecessary, but it works for me, so I just do it. Don't let it fall. This is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter primer. This is a little bit more moisturising, so I tend to take a couple of pumps of this all over my face and just kind of massage it in. It looks like I'm reefing the face off myself, but I promise I'm not. And I kind of bring that up under my eyes a little bit as well, because I've noticed over the past few months I'm getting some fine lines, and I want to try and conceal them for as long as possible. So that goes on all over the skin, and that kind of melts in and stays a little bit tacky but still feels kind of hydrating at the same time. For the T-zone, well, minus up here because that's where I get kind of most dehydration, I use something like Benefit Professional, turn it around, just because I have large pores and this type of like silicone primer fills them in. So I kind of tend to pat that in, and I bring it up on my jaw as well, because this is where I tend to lose makeup the quickest. So yeah, well, I don't know if you can see, it's already kind of mattified my skin because my skin looks shiny a lot of the time. So that's primer done. For foundation, it really just depends on what you like. Obviously, this video is about more full coverage. For me, full coverage is a decent coverage foundation and then adding on concealer where needed and powder. I have 2 here that I've been really enjoying. This is my OG. I always have a bottle of this in my collection. This is the L'Oreal 24-Hour Infallible Matte. Although it's matte, it's not drying or uncomfortable and has really good coverage and just great staying power on me. This is one of my holy grails and I love it, and I think it's €12. And then I also have a newer favourite. This is the LA Girl Pro Matte HD Longwear Matte Foundation. And again, although this kind of says matte, it's a more, gives like a velvet texture to the skin, and again lasts really well, good coverage, but not like double wear coverage, because that's just too much for me personally. I'd rather go in with something that's decent coverage but not too heavy and thick, that you can kind of see it layered on the skin. I'd rather not do that and just go in with concealer where necessary. I think I'm actually going to mix both of these together. I'm a bit of a mixer, and this is a little bit too dark for me. It's in the shade Natural, completely my fault, I picked the wrong shade. And this is in Vanilla, which I know is my shade, so I'm going to mix both of these. I was doing this video because I thought I was going somewhere. I thought I had an event today. Turns out I put the wrong day in the calendar and it was yesterday, so I'm getting ready for no apparent reason, but sure, I still wanted to film the video. So there's my little concoction on the back of my hand. Get the mirror in check, and I'm just going to splodge it on. I tend to do layers. I tend to feel that, I keep saying tend to, but all of this is up for interpretation and it depends on the day as well. But generally what I do is, like, I'll put a layer on, blend it in, and then apply another layer. I feel that like if you just whack it all on and try to blend it out, it just becomes a bit of a mess. I have a new brush to try. This is the e.l.f. I can't remember what it's called. It's the 106, but look at the tip of it. It has like a swirl in the middle of it, so I'm excited to try this. Now I think you're meant to kind of pour the foundation into the swirl and work from there, but I'm not going to do that. And always remember, well, this kind of is for any time you put foundation on, but especially when you're using more full coverage, always try to bring it down your neck so the skin matches. Oh, I don't know about this brush. It's a bit too stiff for me. I think I'll go with the Devil I Know. This is actually I always get questions about this. This is the F86 from Sigma. I bought this when Sigma were only kind of the decent brushes you could find online, so it's years and years old, and it's definitely stood the test of time. It's really good, but yeah, I think I'll use this instead. It's a bit softer. So on a normal daily basis, I'd probably just leave it there and that's enough. But if I'm going more full coverage, if I know like there's going to be photographs and stuff taken, I will go in with another layer. So that's what I'm going to do. What I want from foundation is for it to cover redness and minor breakouts or blemishes, but also to kind of glide over any imperfections as well, like so lumps and bumps, and kind of fill them in. And then for anything more hardcore, I'll use concealer. So that's foundation done, and normally now I would go in and do brows just because that's kind of the way I do my makeup routine. But I'm going to finish with the rest of my base just to kind of show you the difference between how I started and how I will finish. So I don't put foundation out like around my eyes just because I don't want to tug any more than I have to, and I'm going to add concealer anyway, so I don't feel like you need both of them. But obviously if you want to do that, you can go right ahead. And sometimes I do look a bit funny because like you can still see the darkness under my eyes after putting on foundation. So I'm using Tarte Shape Tape. This is just my bloody favourite. And I'm going in a little bit heavier than usual just because I want more coverage. And I tend to keep this, like I don't do the whole triangle thing because I have open pores on both sides of my nose, so I tend to go in with like the Rimmel Last and Finish and just kind of go over that area for peace of mind more than anything else. It's because for when like my makeup was breaking down, there's extra layers of coverage there. When I do my eyebrows, I tend to go around them with concealer anyway, so I don't really worry about like using my under eye concealer to conceal my lid and whatever, and I use primer and all that as well. So that's just for under my eyes. And then, as I said, for my face, I used the Last and Finish. I think this might be discontinued. I went from using the MAC Full Coverage Foundation as concealer for years and years. Then I bought this and I bloody love it, and now it's discontinued. But yeah, you will see me using this all the time. And you'll see me using this method all the time. I just kind of pop it onto the areas that I know my makeup will break away more throughout the day. And if I have any major blemishes or anything like that, especially under my nose too, because I get quite red. If I'm being really finicky, I'll leave this to sit for as long as I can and then blend it out, just because it kind of hardens on the skin and it gives a thicker layer of coverage, but it works just as well. I'm going to use my foundation brush for this. It works just as well, but I use a really light hand to blend it in to get as much impact as I can without it looking like too fake or unskin like. So it'll be at this point before I powder whether I decide I want to use like a cream highlighter. I don't use it on its own because it doesn't really work for me, but I generally, if I want my highlighter to kind of last a good amount of time throughout the day, I'll use a bit of liquid highlighter and then use a powder over top. So I'm going to use this Zoeva Halo. This is, what's it called? The strobe gel. So it is a gel. I don't use this very often actually. I bought it on a whim and I kind of just forget that's there. It's a really weird gel-like formula. It's really odd. That's why I kind of bought it. And it wasn't too expensive either. So I'm going to get some of that on my fingers. And just put it where I'm going to put shine. Where I want shine. This is super subtle, but it just means that I'm layering product And then at this point, powder is super important because you want to lock in all the creams that you've put on your face. So I tend to, Jesus, I keep saying tend to. Pick another word, Gemma. I use generally like a coloured powder for under my eyes just because I want to kind of lighten it as much as possible. So this is the NYX contour palette. I don't really use the rest of the shades, but I use the skin colour shade and the yellow shade, and I just mix them both together and use them under my eyes. I don't rub too hard because I don't want to disrupt the concealer. And then to set the rest of my face, I generally just use a translucent powder and then bring like something like MAC Studio Fix in my handbag with me. I have two shades. I have NC20 and NC30 depending on how fake tanned I am. And I will use that to touch up throughout the day rather than a translucent powder, because obviously if I'm losing coverage anywhere, a translucent powder isn't really going to help with the coverage, whereas MAC Studio Fix is a powder foundation. So that will help with the to add the coverage anywhere that I lose it. And so I just pat this into the skin. Now obviously I would have the rest of my makeup on and I will put that on and come back to you, but when I'm generally finished setting my face, I will use a fixing mist. I don't particularly like this one, it's just the one that I have at the minute. It's the Perfectitude by Love. It's the 3-in-1 Prime and Fix Spray. It's a bit too shiny for me, but it gets rid of the powderiness that's kind of sitting on the face after using quite full coverage products. So I'll do a spritz of that. So I let the fixing mist do its thing, let it sink into the skin and like do my hair or whatever, and then I'll come back to my makeup again just before I leave the house and go over my T-zone with my powder, just to ensure that the T-zone isn't shiny, because that's where I'll see it develop more. So yeah, I'm just kind of giving myself an extra layer of powder. Okay, I better finish the face. I look really odd and I'll come back to you. And so this is the finished makeup, obviously with brows and lips and eyes done. Generally, if I do this type of more full coverage base, I would go in a bit heavier with the makeup. But as I said, I got my days mixed up, so I'm not heading to where I was heading. So I just went pretty simple on the eyes and used a matte lip. It's one of the new Unnude Maybelline Super Stay Matte Inks, which I really like. So yeah, this is my skin done and dusted with powder and highlight and all that good stuff. I still use highlight because although I want my skin to be matte because it gets oily really quickly, you need a bit of glow. Full on matte, well, like it's up to you, but for me, full on matte doesn't really work for me. I like a bit of dimension to my skin. But yeah, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I shall talk to you in my next video. Take care, bye!